Hey everybody, it's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Vitality once again. So we got another interview ready to go. We've still got about half a dozen or so left before we're done with this wave. So we'll just keep getting them through. Probably get through the last one, maybe a couple weeks here. But yeah, all right. Without further ado, here you go. All right, bye. All right, so I'm currently on the phone with Michael. He's another one of the musicians that reached out to me about the current interview series. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a chance to introduce himself.
All right, thank you, Alex. My name is Mike Reitz. I am a bass player, a vocalist, a pianist, a band leader, an arranger, and a writer. So I think I've got just about all the bases covered there.
Yeah, you definitely seem pretty well rounded out there. So I always like to start at the beginning. When did you first identify with music, and what was it about music that really, hit home with you and made you realize you wanted to participate with it?
Well, I've got some old stories for you. If you want to go way back, my parents used to have an enormous record collection.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered somebody named Trini Lopez, which was, I think he was a Mexican kind of folk singer, something like that. But my parents had one of his albums, and I just really dug it. Specifically, I remember loving the song "When the Saints Go Marching In." So that's kind of where it started from the very beginning. And my mom used to love Motown, so when she was cooking or hanging around, she'd have the radio on the kitchen counter playing Motown hits, and I love that. So I just kind of hang around and listen to that music too.
Sure. And so was there something specifically about, that kind of classical era of modern music, for lack of a better term, that, really kind of stuck with you, that propelled you into learning an instrument? Or did you also participate in like school music programs?
Well, I guess in terms of some of the stuff I've already shared, I've always been a rhythm guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Latin rhythms and R&B rhythms and things like that. It all actually didn't really tie in until I think I was like ninth grade or something like that. And so I'd always been kind of a music fan, and it moved into pop music primarily, and then started getting into rock. And one of my buddies at school played guitar, and he said, "Hey, listen, I need a bass player, and bass players, it's kind of like they're playing a lead all the way through the song." So
Mm-hmm.
I thought, wow, cool. I get to play leads. Where do I sign up? So got myself a Rickenbacker 4001, and he and I just started it. Wasn't really a band, but we used to do a lot of playing with each other.
Nice. So how long would you say between when you first started learning an instrument did it take you until you were really comfortable with the instrument and you felt confident in performing with it?
Oh man, geez, tough question to answer. I mean, gradually I felt better about my playing as time went on, but in all honesty, I'm not sure I became truly a competent player for, oh man, maybe 4 years, something like
Well,
that.
I did say confident, not
Oh,
competent.
God.
I would never insult somebody like that.
Well, if you want to talk confidence, it kind of depends on what day. I mean, even to this day, sometimes I love when I play, and then other days I'm kind of like, where's it all gone wrong? So I think it's that kind of cliche musician self-doubt.
Definitely. There's always the I could have done this or that better vibe.
Yeah.
Excellent. So once you did reach that level where you were comfortable with the instrument and everything, you said you started playing bass for one of your friends' bands. Was that the only project that you participated in? And then how did you also start to work in producing, recording, and everything else that you rounded out like your talent with?
Well, I didn't do a whole lot. I mean, I played in like high school keg party bands, that type of thing. But wound up going to school out at Berkeley in Boston, Berkeley College of Music,
Mm-hmm.
and was studying songwriting and performance. So it was kind of at that point that I think I kind of realized or verbalized or whatever you want to say to myself that, oh, I love to write songs,
Hmm.
and so that's how it really started. And then I left Berkeley and then started an original band of my own, and then got involved in what was called the underground music scene in Minneapolis back in
Hmm.
the late '80s, and was with an original band called Neo Droog back then that had wonderful music, although we didn't really gain much notoriety. So I think that's really where it all started. Of course, it took many years after that to really manifest into some recordings and things
Hmm.
like that. But I would say that's how the whole thing got kicked off.
Sure, definitely. That's very cool. So, in addition to playing bass in a band, what are some of the other projects that you're working on behind the instrument?
Well, currently, I am putting together a show band. We're called Dead Fables, and what we do is we play epic rock songs from Led Zeppelin through today. And we also take some iconic pop music, mostly from the '90s, and then we rock it up, if you will. So we put kind of a hard rockin' edge, kind of like if Led Zeppelin played, Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears, that type of thing. So that's the current project. Some other recent projects, I had a piano and vocal duet
Hmm.
with a gal that I'm currently working with Dead Fables, and we did a bunch of harmony vocals, and I would play some chords on the piano. I faked it pretty good, being a piano player, I think that is.
Hmm.
And the significant projects before that, I wrote, arranged, and recorded a couple albums.
Hmm.
The name of the project was the American Pop Music Experiment. So those are probably the highlights of what I've done in my contemporary career.
Sure. And so, comparing the different instruments that you did learn to play, in your opinion, what would you say the hardest instrument versus the easiest instrument were for you to learn?
Ooh, good question. I would say without a doubt, piano is the hardest instrument to get yourself to a basic level of competence. I mean,
Hmm.
no matter if you're playing bongos or bass or piano or pan flute, I mean, once you get to a certain point, you really kind of achieve an elite level of skill. They're all tough, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I would say to get to that kind of that first base or that second base where you can actually play a song or jam with people,
Hmm.
definitely piano. I would say a close second is singing vocals, especially as a bass player. It's extremely hard to sing like harmony vocals, which I, by the way, love to do because it is so hard.
Hmm.
Rhythmically, singing harmonies or any vocals can be tough against a bass line, but especially if I'm singing harmonies, you tend to hear all this just beautiful color, that you don't necessarily hear as a bass player because you're playing linear patterns versus, a chord being strummed simultaneously like on a guitar or a piano. So
Sure.
piano with probably harmony vocals while playing bass a close second.
I, I would probably agree. Although I come from a bit of a percussion background, and when I first started playing music, my grandfather taught me or made me take organ lessons. So I kind of had
Oh, nice.
that from when I was really young, but that only lasted till I was about a teenager before I switched over to drums and joined drumline and everything. Um, so how would you say that you took that knowledge and then applied it to the type of content and the way that you wanted to create with like your ability and present yourself?
Could you repeat the question? I guess I was a little uncertain of what you were asking.
So basically, I'm asking, with the background that you have, how did you identify the type of music that you wanted to make?
Oh, well, I mean, I think we all kind of gravitate to what we love, right?
Hmm.
And for me, it was always rhythmic stuff in a general sense. Um, I tend to like modal chord progressions, which are kind of minor chord progressions versus kind of happier sounding chord progressions. Of course, the modal stuff is indicative of harder rock
Hmm.
and also like Montuno sections of Latin music. So just really dug those things and just kind of ran with it from there. Uh, yeah, so
Okay.
that was a starting point, and it's kind of gone in a couple different directions, but that was the beginning.
Sure, definitely. So, with the current projects that you are in, is the objective to be out there playing shows or make recordings? Will take the last year off the table and just go with it from there.
Um, yeah, I guess all of the above. With um, the project that I'm doing now, it was really born of. I did a festival circuit in the Upper Midwest in 2019 with a variety band called Starless Web. And
Hmm.
gosh, I just really dug it. It was a blast. I mean, the production was there. There were people in the crowd. You felt like a rock star for about a 4, 5, 6 hour period.
Hmm.
And I loved it so much. I'm like, I got to do this. I got to create a band that does this. And so so that's kind of the main thrust of the current project, Dead Fables. But the angle that we're using is we're taking these kind of classic rock tunes, when we're being true to those tunes, but we're trying to twist them our own way to make them very unique. The rationale simply being, instead of people coming to see a song list or hear a song list, they're coming to see you play songs.
Hmm.
And then also we feel it's a bridge that could open the door to a crowd being open-minded to original music. So
Hmm.
that's kind of the game plan. We'll see if I can achieve it.
Sure, definitely. So, in the breadth of time that you have been playing music, what have been like some of your favorite memories and most impactful moments?
Oh man, you're probably going to think this is funny. There's been a handful of them, but the first one I can remember is actually playing a high school talent show, and I was a senior. It was the first time that I walked out on a stage, and like the cheering was deafening.
Hmm.
You know, like kind of puts you on your heels. You're like, oh my gosh. Probably that, I would say. Similar situations when I've been playing gigs and touring around, or those with Mick Sterling with a larger band, and that was kind of a thrill. The crowd gets into it, and just to kind of be in a 14-piece band, versus a quintet or something, which is what I've typically done, was pretty exciting stuff. And of course, being in the recording studio, when you hear your music and your kind of vision that's inside of you, and you're so emotionally connected to it, and then you hear it kind of come to fruition.
Hmm.
It's some pretty exciting stuff.
Sure, definitely. So, where can people check out the stuff that you're working on and click on some links and listen to you?
Could you repeat that? The phone faded there for a second.
Oh, basically, I'm just asking you, where can people check out your work, like, whether it be social media or like SoundCloud?
Oh yeah, for sure. So, well, the American Pop Music Experiment. I can be found on Spotify and Amazon and all kind of the usual suspect streaming platforms.
Hmm.
So that's where you can find that. I've also got a Facebook page for the American Pop Music Experiment. So you can simply search it on Facebook, and it comes up pretty easy.
Hmm.
Or if you want to use the at identifier, the handle identifier, whatever it is, it's the APME. And Dead Fables, we're pretty new, so not a whole lot out there, but we do have a Facebook page,
Hmm.
and it is simply Dead Fables.
Hmm.
And again, the handle is at Dead Fables.
All right. And I always like to give the person that I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out like their last words. So, basic message that you feel kind of resonates with you.
Yeah, well, music's a wonderful career. Definitely a blessing, sometimes a curse. I guess if there's other people out there thinking about it, buckle up, because you're going to have a ton of fun and a ton of challenges. And yeah, hopefully anything I've said today has been inspirational, or helped somebody else out there.